Chris Mannix has been in Milwaukee. He knows these Celtics. He did not like my take, which I didn't even think it was a negative. The Buffalo Bills, for big chunks of my life, have been unbelievably talented, star quarterback, really well run, and no trophies. And it's like, now Boston obviously has a history. But if you go back to Boston 35 years, they've had a lot of good teams. This arguably is as, I mean, it's not quite KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, but it's good. But my criticism is I've seen this team blow people out for 3 years. We love the Drew Holiday move, but he's going to be 33, 34 pretty soon, and he's played those a lot of miles. He defends. He's on the floor. Those are Tony Allen years. Like he's not a guy out there hitting Jays. He's going to age. I think this year is really, really important.
Okay, that's the only thing out of your mouth I agree with at this moment. Because in the pantheon of wild takes, that's a pretty wild one. Comparing them to the Buffalo Bills doesn't make sense because the Bills in those early 90s, they were a team that from the first Super Bowl to the fourth Super Bowl were a complete team. They were peaking around those years. Yeah. This Celtics team was not peaking 2 years ago when they were still a pretty young team. Yeah. Last year, you have the head coach of your team go out in a sex scandal days before the start of training camp, and you're trying to fix things on the fly. Yeah. Not to excuse losing to Miami in the conference finals.
But
they should have.
Mazzulla was a kid. I mean, he's a young coach.
Mazzulla, and that's another beef I have with you there. You said earlier that a Celtics-Denver series.
Give one to Malone.
One because of Michael Malone. Now, I like Michael Malone as a head coach, but you are looking at Joe Mazzulla like he's the coach from last season, the coach that had a deer-in-the-headlights look for a long time, who came from the back of the bench to take over a championship-level team and had to learn how to be a head coach with a bunch of assistants, some of them that probably didn't like him very much because they probably thought they deserved to get the job.
Fair. Yeah.
This year, he has a full training camp, a full offseason. He was able to bring in the assistant coach he wanted. He's got Charles Lee, who's going to be a head coach someday, Sam Cassell, who's going to be a head coach someday, and he has shown incredible growth this year as a head coach. How many times, Colin, have you talked about the Joe Mazzulla gaffes from last season, the not calling timeouts in key moments, the too much three-point shooting? Yeah, the Celtics shoot a lot of threes, but they win a lot of games because they're top 5 in the NBA in three-point shooting.
This team is, I would say this, sometimes Marcus Smart, I thought, had a greater opinion of his offense than
he did.
I think Drew Holiday could score more.
Doesn't need to. You want the number one offensive team in the league? You want him to score more?
No, I think Drew Holiday fits because Drew Holiday has – I always felt Marcus Smart wanted to prove, I can take games over.
He did.
My take was, don't do that, right? Holiday could – but doesn't feel a need to do it. He's a more seamless third scorer. He can score, but it's not his thing.
I don't know if he could. I mean, part of the reason the Bucks made that trade is they needed a guy who could take over, who could provide offense that Giannis couldn't, and that was Damian Lillard. Think about how good the Celtics are offensively. You have the Golden State Warriors, who have as much brain power on that bench as any team in the NBA. Steve Kerr, Kenny Atkinson, that entire bunch. Championship players on that roster. And their best strategy to play the Celtics was to leave an all-NBA forward who shoots 36% from three career-wise wide open the entire game. That was their strategy coming in. We're going to leave Jaylen Brown open, and we're going to try to win that way. Didn't work for them. The Celtics have so many offensive options that all Drew Holiday has to do is shoot a decent percentage from the floor and play the kind of defense he's known for.
But the big but is that the East is pretty weak. I mean, listen, Randall, Brunson, Knicks need another score. They didn't do it at the trade deadline. I appreciate their patience. They've been impatient my entire adult life. I appreciate it. Milwaukee's not there yet. We'll get to them in a second. Embiid's out, forget it. Or Cleveland's good. Mitchell's gone next year, maybe at the trade deadline. I feel like they're a little hot and cold for me.
You think Mitchell's going to the Knicks? I don't quite buy that.
I think Trae Young Lakers. I think Trae Young feels like L.A., and LeBron tends to, with players he respects, and I know he knows Trae because I went to an event this year and they were both at it. Clutch, sports guy. So, and I don't think Trae Young works with Jalen Brunson. He's too loose. Donovan Mitchell shoots a lot, but I think he fits better.
Too small. Too small.
So here's the other thing about it. Let's just talk titles. OKC's too young to win. One more year, watch out. Denver's in their prime. Got to get past them. I don't trust Minnesota, but I do like their coach, and they've got size. Lakers, I thought needed to make a move this year. AD's finally healthy. But my takeaway is you can't take the East, where the Celtics are 33-6. I don't care. They're going to fly through the East. The West is a whole different ballgame.
I agree. While I think Denver's the clear favorite to win the West, they're not as clear favorite to win that conference as the Celtics are to win the Eastern Conference. Because
That's right.
They're going to have some beasts to go through along the way. The teams you mentioned, put the Clippers in that mix, who, when they're fully healthy, they're as good as any team, I think, in the Western Conference. So I think Denver is going to be banged up a little bit on their way to the NBA Finals. Now, that may not matter, because what Denver's showing right now is that the first part of the regular season, that didn't really matter to them all that much. There was still some championship hangover. They were trying to work in some new guys. It was tough for some of the stars to get motivated. What we've seen over the last 10 games, where Michael Porter Jr.'s offense has taken off, Nikola Jokic is playing great, the defense has locked down, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown fitting right into the roles.
Yeah, really good bench guys.
Vacated by Bruce Brown and Jeff Green.
Yeah, really good.
They are starting to rev that engine up a little bit. And when they do, they're going to be really tough to beat.
All right. We'll circle back to the Celtics, because I've been saying this for years with him, is that people, and maybe I'm guilty, I think Tatum's the best domestic player in his prime in the NBA. Now, I think Steph on good nights is better. And I think he's about the 8th best player in the league. That's what I think. He's around there. I still do have, and this is not a criticism, but I think initially he trained with Kobe, and there was this feeling that he was going to keep moving up, and then the exclamation point would be he is the go-to guy. And my takeaway is I don't think he has that personality. I think he's an all-star. He's a first-team or the best player on the second-team all-star. I mean, MVP, consider it. But I do think with Tatum, my take is we're anointing him to a position. It's not really his personality. He's a willing passer. He doesn't have to take the final shot. I mean, there were times in Kobe's career, Shaq's like, I can't play with him. Nobody ever says that with Tatum. Michael Jordan wore people out before Pippen. Phil Jackson talked. Tatum's not this next level. This is what he is. And what he is I think Jokic is better. There are other guys in the league I trust with the ball with a minute left.
I think you're right about his personality. It's not what Kobe, Michael, some of those guys.
Not who he is.
Not who he is. That doesn't mean he can't be a closer on a championship team. I think what Jason Tatum has done this year has contributed mightily to why the Celtics are in the position that they're in. His willingness to take a step back, to make it a priority to involve Kristaps Porzingis and make him the 20-point per game scorer that he is. Yes, it is a very Steph Curry type of move. But in the fourth quarter of games, there aren't many players that can go to the bag that Jason Tatum can go to. He can score off the dribble. He gets to the free throw line now. His three-point shot is legit. He is one of the more efficient post players in the NBA this year. He has become that guy this year, both in terms of a passer and a shot maker. So when you have that entire bag that you can go to, down the stretch, last 3 or 4 minutes, probably not more than a handful of guys I'd want with the ball in their hands more than Jason Tatum.
All right. I come across like a hater. I'm really not. Okay.
Sacramento Kings line was a bit hurtful.
I love those Kings teams. I like those Kings teams way more than this team. You guys all want me to light the beam. I'm over it. The beam's been extinguished. I watched it last year. The old Kings teams I loved. Okay, you spent time with the Bucks. When I first watched them, it's like creating a new show. You got to give it a year. Dame, your turn. Giannis, your turn. Giannis has been a bit westernized. He's getting less patient. Got a coach run out. Probably shouldn't. What do you make of Milwaukee? You spent a week and a half with them?
Yeah, I spent about a week right before the All-Star break with them at home, and then I went on the road with them to Memphis. I think they're trending in the right direction. And I think that the decision to fire Adrian Griffin and replace him with Doc Rivers was the right one. Doc has taken a beating over the last couple of weeks for some of the things that he said and as blunt as he's been. But his philosophies make sense. One of the things he did immediately when he came in was say, we're trying to do too much defensively. Let's get back to who we are, the bread and butter defenses that made us great. Over the last 5 games, where the Bucks are 5-0, they're the #1 defense in the NBA during that stretch. That is an impressive mark for the Milwaukee Bucks. And since Doc has taken over, they have progressively climbed the defensive rating standings in the NBA.
Doc was a good defensive player. Is he known as somebody that
he's had good defensive teams, right?
Okay.
But it all depends in part on the personnel. But I'm telling you, what he did was take away a lot of the gimmicky stuff that Milwaukee was doing and got them back to being kind of the pure, tough defensive team.
Yeah.
You hunt over that screen.
With good length.
Yeah, you use your length. You bank on Brook Lopez and Giannis in the paint. He's gotten them back to that. And really, if you're Milwaukee, you don't need to be the top 5 defensive team you've been in years past to be successful in the playoffs because you've got firepower now.
Yeah.
You've got Damian Lillard in that rotation, and he's going to be a threat in the postseason. If they can just be a top 10, top 12 defensive team, they are the biggest threat to Boston in the Eastern Conference.
I want to talk. So I said Saturday night it was interesting. I watched the Lakers Nuggets game. I watched them play several times. They played 11 times in 2 years, and the games would come down to 4.5 points, which is the Clippers don't match up with them. Phoenix doesn't match up with Denver. A lot of people don't match up with Denver. Knicks strangely do. Lakers do because of their size, and LeBron can kind of control the tempo. And, you know, at the end of games, Jokic and Jamal Murray just get more good shots. They got 4 players in their prime. Lakers have kind of one elite player, which is AD, and he's an old 30 because of injuries. But my takeaway of watching the game was, which has been my take all year, is Lakers match up great with Denver. The difference is they don't have as many good players in their prime, and I don't trust D'Angelo Russell. Reeves will give me 18. AD will, give me 17 to 23. LeBron will be spectacular. And D'Lo could give me 8 points, 24, 3 assists, 9. I think the Lakers, when I watch them now, I'm like, damn, they should have made a move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, but what move? There wasn't one out there. Like, would you give up the 1 first-round pick you can deal to get Bruce Brown? Does that move the needle enough against the Denver Nuggets? I understand what the Lakers were thinking in doing nothing.
I feel like they need another shot maker.
Absolutely. But you couldn't get that at the trade deadline, not with the assets the Lakers have. You get to June, and you've got 3 first-round picks to deal. You've got contracts that are 1 year less that you could potentially trade in the case of D'Angelo Russell.
So you think they'll make a big move?
Oh, I think they'll make a big move this offseason.
Now, okay, let me throw. So that's interesting. So I've got the picks and expiring contracts. So a big move is what you're going to need.
Yep.
Picks and 2 expiring contracts to get Trae Young. I think Trae Young feels like, I don't think Trae Young works with everybody. He's a handful. He just smooths the edges off all players that can be.
Shooters tend to play well opposite LeBron James.
That's right. I mean, before he got to Cleveland, people forget this about Kyrie. The knock was can't stay healthy, diva. People didn't like him. An hour later, we're like, best ambidextrous player in the league, best finisher for a small guy in league history. That happened really fast. I think Trae Young works for the Lakers. Donovan Mitchell goes to the Knicks. They need a second guy. A lot of people push back on Trae Young. You can't play with him. Do you buy that?
I buy that.
You don't love him.
I think he's the best player that I can think of that's going to be available this offseason. The 2 best players that might be available via trade are both in Atlanta. I mean, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are going to be sought-after commodities this offseason. Trae Young makes sense because the Lakers' offense stinks, right? They're 17th in offensive efficiency. They're 13th from three-point range. And this is not an aberration. This is who the Lakers have been. Even their championship year, they were not a great offensive team. Last year in the postseason, when they made a run, they did it backed by defense, great defense. It wasn't great offense. The Lakers need a great offensive player. I think Trae Young makes a lot of sense. You can deal 3 first-round picks. You can deal some swaps. You can deal expiring contracts. You can make a move that would probably entice Atlanta to make that deal.
J-Mac, I always said you should like him. He's got your game. Not much attention to defense and difficult to play with. But I will say there are players that, just certain guys work. By the way, Kyrie now is playing well with Luka, so that's kind of working. Don't think it does anything in the postseason. Let me throw this at you. When you heard LeBron say this, everybody when I came into the league wanted to see me fail, that was kind of projecting. As a psychologist, I don't remember anybody rooting against him.
I'm sure LeBron, look, athletes interpret things differently, right? I'm sure there were people that wanted to see LeBron fail. And I'm sure he heard some of those voices and amplified some of those voices. But the vast majority of people were excited to see LeBron succeed. This was a time in the NBA where they were searching for a face. Kobe had kind of taken that mantle. Michael was at the back end of those Wizards years. They were looking for that next great generational star. And here comes LeBron. And I remember watching that very first game against Sacramento when he had 20-something points, 6 assists, kind of flirted with a triple-double in that game, thinking, wow, this guy is as good as advertised. So back in 2003, a vast majority of the people wanted to see LeBron James succeed. Now, fast forward to 2010, and yes, everybody wanted to see him fail.
In Miami.
When you go to Miami and you leave Cleveland behind and you do it in the way that he did with the decision, it turned everybody against him completely. But from the very beginning, I don't know where that demographic was. The people that were rooting for LeBron to fail.
I understand Boston didn't love him because you guys had KG, Paul Pierce. Like, it was your time.
Yeah, but he was a young guy
he
on
wasn't
a team that was rebuilding. He wasn't really a threat until 2007, and they went to the finals. And the rivalry with Boston didn't really pick up until 2009, 2010.
All right, let's circle back to the Celtics. So this guy literally is on the Reddit boards, Jason Tatum fan guy all week. If the Celtics, Porzingis, you cross your fingers on his health. So let's say the Celtics get to the finals, and they just don't match up with Denver. It just doesn't look good. And now Porzingis, you cross your fingers on health, and all of a sudden Drew Holiday is now 34. Do you think, and I'm projecting, but boy, Boston's an overwhelming favorite to get. I would be shocked. In fact, I would be surprised if they don't sweep a series. And maybe
two.
Yeah, I think there's that much better. It's the best starting five, hands down. At least in the West, there are other comparable starting fives. There are dangerous. OKC's too young, but they can score. Can't rebound, but they can score. And they get extinguished by Denver, and it doesn't look highly competitive. Do they make a move then? So if my take is so zany, then that should mean if they go and lose again in the finals, the feeling is we are reluctant to change. I feel like if they don't win, now we start looking at Tatum going, bro, come on now. Steph took you to the cleaners. Wiggins felt bigger. Jokic, Murray.
I think if they lose this year, your take is less zany than it is right now. Okay. Because this year, there's no lingering issues. There's no we're too young. There's no our coach is inexperienced. There's a finals team that we could play that's more experienced than we are. All those things are completely off the table. And yeah, if they get beat bad by a team like Denver in the finals, I could see them making some changes because Brad Stevens has been proactive from day one on this job.
He is.
Like, he didn't need to make changes last year. They were one win away from going to the finals. Yeah. Marcus Smart is a beloved figure in the city of Boston. Yeah. Yet he goes out, makes that deal. Drew Holiday in, Porzingis in.
It's a great
deal. Both of those have worked.
Yeah, we love
both those have worked. So if they fail this season, and failure can look like a few different things, right? I think failure is getting beaten 5 games by Denver in the finals. If they go to 7 and lose the Nuggets, I don't know if that's necessarily different. But if they either lose in the conference playoffs or lose bad in the NBA finals, then we can start talking this wackadoo take of yours about the Sacramento Kings and the Buffalo Bills, because they are just not there yet, Colin. They are legit this year, and they're going to be a problem for whoever they play in the finals.
Hey, light the beam. Nick Wright was
that team ran into the LA. That team wasn't even that bad. They ran into the LA Lakers year after year. The Celtics don't have an LA Lakers out there in their conference.
East is weaker than I thought. I liked it, but Embiid's injury.
The Embiid injury, although the Celtics have owned the Sixers the last few years, that I'm not sure that would have changed the result of that.
But you know
series.
what? I remember last year watching Boston play Milwaukee, and my take was, man, Milwaukee looks slow and old. Boston looks so much more athletic, and I still have. I mean, Dame's not a defender, so
he's not.
It's not like they got younger.
No, and they're an older team than Milwaukee.
I think they're the oldest team in the league.
Yeah, and that affects their athleticism. They've got some problems on that end. But by the way, your Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks take is you got to.
They got to get a second.
It's not Donovan Mitchell. It can't be Donovan Mitchell. It can't be. You can't win with Mitchell and Brunson. No, you two small guards you can't win with. That's the problem Cleveland's run into the last couple of years with Mitchell and Darius Garland.
Right.
Like they're too small in that backcourt to succeed at the highest of levels.
So where would the Knicks go?
I mean, they will keep hunting the biggest of big names. They will keep hunting Giannis if things go south in Milwaukee.
So that's been my take. Ryan, do we have this taped? I said if Giannis doesn't win a second one with Dame, he's been westernized.
Yeah.
He got coaches fired. Like, he's now wants to – he understands the game. European players come over. They play nice. And then all of a sudden they see how aggressive our media is.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, you won a title. You got to get to 2 and 3. Michael got 6. Bill got 11. Like, I think he kind of feels like now it's almost like Calipari at Kentucky. There's a huge gap between 1 title and 2. There's a million guys with a title. Yeah. And I think Giannis, if they regress in the playoffs, I think he's going to go to the front office.
And to be clear, he signed that contract this past year, which was as much about the machinations of the salary cap to enable him over the next 2 contracts to get the maximum possible dollar. Yes, it was viewed as a commitment to Milwaukee, but it was really about making sure he got max dollar. I'm with you on this one. If they get beat in the second round of the playoffs, there could be a problem. I don't know that for sure, but there could be a problem with Giannis in Milwaukee. That's why teams like the Knicks have been keeping their powder dry as best they can, because there are still teams looking to gear up and make a run at Giannis in the offseason.
Chris Mannix, good stuff. Pushing back. Love it. See that combative stuff? Yeah. But his stuff makes sense. I had to talk him off the ledge. He had 5 little kids on his team. The other team, some kid got the chicken pox or something. They only had 4. He didn't take a player off the team. He's like, full court press. Let's douse him.
Wow.
That's very aggressive with children. That's very aggressive coaching. You got Bobby Knight over here. These guys.
I admire the press. I would have done that, but
he's
not
like Rick Pitino,
box.
full court press on the Division III team. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.